Okay, so we are going to start. Welcome to the BlackNorth Initiative At-Risk Youth and Community Safety Committee breakout session. Before our committee chair, Dr. Kwame McKenzie begins, we'd like to remind everyone that the Q&A feature is available, and we invite everybody who wants to send questions through this feature to do it. At the end of the presentation, we'll try to answer some of these questions. However, if we're missing time, we'll make sure to answer this question afterward and share these answers um, after the breakout session. Also, this session will be recorded, so whatever you need to look back at, or if you have any question, please free to circle back to the organization. We'll be happy to connect again and keep this conversation open and live. Thank you all for your participation. Dr. McKenzie, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ken. And what you don't know is Ken is joining us all the way from Paris, just outside Paris in France, showing his devotion to the cause, and he'll be moderating later on. So good afternoon and welcome to the breakout session for the Community Safety and Wellness Committee of the BlackNorth Initiative. I'm Dr. Kwame McKenzie, and I'm the chair of the Community Safety and Wellness Committee. I'm a physician, a full professor at U of T, and the CEO of Wellesley Institute, a charity which improves health through developing policy interventions on the social determinants of health. I need to start with an apology. Chief Mark Saunders, who chairs the At-Risk Youth Committee, was to be here with us today, but he's had to deal with some urgent issues, so he will not be presenting here today. A little bit about the BlackNorth Initiative, and I know a lot of you will have spent the last couple of hours being blown away by just some amazing presentations and stories that in the the main event. The BlackNorth Initiative is committed to the removal of anti-Black systemic barriers that negatively affect the lives of Black people in Canada. The initiative is different from other initiatives because it focuses on what businesses can do to decrease anti-Black systemic racism. It aims to reach CEOs in the language that they understand. And there's a CEO pledge which attempts to hold them to account through transparency, accountability, and measurement. And I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you who are on this breakout session for your commitment to combating anti-Black systemic racism in your organizations and in the community. So I'm not going to speak for long today. In the next few minutes, I'm going to give you a brief outline of what the Community Safety and Wellness Committee is aiming to achieve. But really, I want to hear from you and hear your questions and reactions to what you've heard. But I know there's very little time. So if you want to get involved with BlackNorth, if you have detailed questions, or if you have a question that you prefer to ask one-to-one, you can send an email to blacknorth.ca and they will forward it to us. So just a few brief comments about our committee. Now, you all know that parents want to give the child the best chance they can in life because they know that the environment a child grows up in can help determine their trajectory, their chances of wealth, their chances of health, and their chances of happiness. And academics agree. According to the adverse childhood experience studies in the USA and in Canada, improving the environment a child is brought up in can significantly improve their education, the job they get, whether they end up happily married, whether they get involved in drugs, and whether they develop a mental illness. And our built environment and social environments are also important during our youth and when we're adults. In fact, the Canadian Medical Association has calculated that 60% of your wellness is linked to where you live and how you live. So our social environments determine our health and our wealth, but we all know that the environments in which too many of our Black community live do not give them an equal chance, let alone the best chance. And the reason is systemic anti-Black racism. Now, I'm not going to dwell today on facts and figures about what's wrong. Today is about looking forwards. And the work of my committee will be to find solutions and actions that can be implemented to improve the social factors that are linked to our health and wealth. And we'll specifically focus on what businesses can do, as well as what others can do. Because this committee believes that a safe community is one in which people thrive. And we believe thriving communities are safer communities. And we believe that we all have a responsibility to help build those communities and help build the future. The executive of the committee will be small, but there will be opportunities for wider participation. For the executive at the moment, I'm happy and really pleased to announce that Jeannie Shim, who's a housing specialist and sits on the board of Waterfront Toronto, will be part of the executive, as will Catherine Hay, the CEO of Kids Helpline, and she'll be part of the committee. And I'm really happy to be linking up again with Chief Peter Slowly, who's the chief of the Ottawa Police and also has worked with the UN and in Deloitte to be part of the committee. But that's just the start. There'll be other people joining, and we really look forward to your participation. The Community Wellness and Safety Committee wants to produce plans that will make communities fairer and more resilient. For instance, we want to develop suggestions on how to improve housing and the social infrastructure. We want to ensure that no person in the Black community thinks that suicide is the only way out. We know that during this pandemic, we found a much higher proportion of people from the Black community, kids from the Black community, ringing in, thinking about suicide. We want to develop plans that improve the Black community's chances of health and wealth. And I've probably said the word plan too much. And that's probably a bit about my upbringing, because my mother would say, if you don't set a plan, then you plan to fail. And the Community Safety and Wellness Committee wants to set plans so that Black communities do not fail. And that's what we are focused on. And that's what we're going to be focused on in the next month as we develop actionable plans for communities and for business. Thank you. I'm really looking forward to your questions.
So again, if you have any question, please use the Q&A box so I can share these questions and ask them directly to our chair. The first question I have for you, Doctor, is what drew you to join the BlackNorth Initiative?
Well, it's an interesting question. The thing that drew me to the BlackNorth Committee, to tell you the truth, was the opportunity to work with Peter Slowly, who I've worked with in the past. And then I met Wes Hall, and I was very intrigued and interested because for many years we've been saying that we want Black business leaders to be talking about systemic anti-Black racism and doing something about it, but we haven't had business leaders come forward, and we haven't had corporate Canada lend their voice to these systemic problems. And so I've been intrigued in wanting to work with corporate Canada in taking this journey because a large part of our economy is corporate Canada, and if corporate Canada takes on this issue alongside government, because I know government's taking on this issue, then I think that we've got everybody working together. I spend a lot of time working with government and working with corporate Canada to try and root out a systemic anti-Black racism, I think is an important thing to do.
Thank you, Doctor. Another question, what do you hope the committee can do within its first year?
I think within its first year, and in fact, we're even thinking shorter than that. We're going to be working hard within the first month to be starting to produce plans and ideas for how we can deal with the social determinants of health and how corporate Canada can also deal with the social determinants of health, specifically for the Black population. And after that, I'm really interested in taking those ideas and working hard, not only with corporate Canada, but also with communities to make sure we've got viable, actionable improvements that we can make.
Another question, I think related. Can you explain what involvement for a volunteer on this committee will look like?
Well, we're actually trying to use a co-design model of how this committee runs. So the executive will be meeting, and when they have met, we're going to try and organize a number of different opportunities from being from writing, from engaging community, from listening to what we've come up with and giving us feedback on it, that will allow different people with different amounts of time to be involved. But we haven't worked that out yet, and we're really very happy to take suggestions.
How are students leaders able to be part of the BlackNorth Initiative?
Well, that's a good question for the BlackNorth Initiative in total. For this committee, which I'm in control of, I'd love student leaders to be involved and send an email to BlackNorth. It will get sent to me, and I will sit down and meet with you, and you can tell me what you can do and how much time you've got. And I'd love sort of younger voices to be taking this forward alongside others.
So just to go with another question that we've been asked, will the BlackNorth Initiative ensure that young people under 30 years old are involved in the leadership?
I think that's very important. I think it would be very important to ask that question directly of BlackNorth, but I believe myself that I'd love younger people to be involved in the initiative, and in this committee which I'm running, I welcome young voices, and not only young voices as part of work streams, but also young voices to join the executive part of the committee. I think it's vital and important.
An interesting question. Do you think it's helpful to the self-esteem of youth to be called at risk?
Well, I haven't used the phrase at risk, and I think you're right that there are problems with the phrase at risk. Sometimes when I hear about at risk, the question is at risk of what? And I believe that there are youth who are at risk of systemic anti-Black racism. But yes, I completely understand and take the point that just like the word vulnerable or at risk, these can be stigmatizing terms that I think sometimes need to be rethought.
How do you plan on reaching out the Black communities? How do you plan on addressing anti-Black racism to other non-Black communities?
Well, I think to start off with, that one of the things about anti-Black racism is that there is something specific about the constellation of factors that come together to make systemic bias, systemic racism particularly impactful on the Black community. And I know that BlackNorth have a liaison with Indigenous populations and have a liaison with other populations. At the moment, I am, and this committee is going to be focused on the Black population, and we're going to be focused on getting that right. And once we've got that, then we'll look to see whether we have something to say for other populations. But our focus for this committee at the moment will be squarely and unapologetically on the Black population, and that's what we're going to be doing.
How will communities be selected to be part of this program?
Well, at the moment we're in the planning phase, and you know, I really don't have an answer to that question. So you know, we're just in the planning phase of thinking about possible initiatives rather than the implementation of those initiatives, when there were going to be questions to be asked about you know, where you're going to start, who is going to get initiatives. But I must say that the most likely scenario is that there will be lots of different things going on across each of the 8 committees, subcommittees, and some of them will be local and some of them will be national. And I'm hoping that we will set up ways to make sure nobody's left out.
Thank you. We have just we have tons of questions, but we have only the time to ask one more. And again, I repeat, like all these questions, we save them and we will make sure that we answer them and we'll share with the group who attended to this session. The last session I want to ask you is, how will you judge the success of your committee and plans, short and longer term?
It's, you see, all of these questions, and I love the fact that the way these questions have gone, because they're asking about measurement, accountability, making sure that there's community consultation, making sure that we have younger people involved, and making sure that we're doing things properly. And these are the sorts of discussions that we need to have. Our committee has only just set up, and I can assure you that we will set ourselves some key performance indicators that will be clear and will be transparent, and you'll be able to see. And we will therefore measure our progress against those transparent, clear goals, and we'll be accountable. That's what we want to do. But we, at the moment, are just in the setting up stage. We are just at the time where we're coming to people and saying, come and join us. And so for us, it's a bit premature to be telling you all the things we're going to do and how we're going to measure it, because we're not there yet. We wanted to come to people early on so that everybody could be, so that people could be part of this, and that we could co-create rather than coming with something finished. This is not a finished piece of work. This is the start, not at the end.
Thank you very much, Dr. McKenzie. And I'm sorry, there's lots of questions. So we will get back to you with answers, clear answers. And there's also a bunch of questions that are not specific to this session, but more like to direct to the whole organization. So we'll make sure that we address it properly and you have the detailed answers. Dr. McKenzie, is there a word you want to say to conclude this session?
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for their time and their openness. And I hope you found that, you know, we're going to be open here to try and do things properly. And I think today's been a great kickoff, and you know, we're going to be learning more. We're going to be listening, and it's in collaboration, which will inform how we go forward and what actions we take. I think it's important to check out the blacknorth.ca for more information and updates, and that's how you can stay involved. But I'd really like to thank everybody. I know this has felt really short, and it should have been longer, especially with all of the things that have happened before. But this is just the start of the journey, and we'll try and work out ways to make sure we can connect with you properly, with more depth in the future. Thanks again. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, everyone.